So this was Colin versus Mikito, with Colin taking black. Yep, a very standard opening so far, no mistakes, all looks great. Yeah, looks good so far. I think in this position, I'd probably be a little bit more inclined to play at R17. This is probably a pretty small difference. The idea being that I don't know how much territory, this is all third line territory right now.
Yeah.
So it's not clear how much I'm really going to get here as white. So for that reason, I'd rather just take away the corner and say, you know what, like this is not an interesting side for either of us. Right, like something, you know, something like this maybe, like this is never going to be interesting for black, because of all these stones over here. And even if you were to treat these stones as lightly, like, you know, let's say you just connect here, like black, the best black's gonna be able to do is play something like this, but even still, you can just treat these stones lightly and make it a little bit over concentrated. It's not gonna be that much territory.
I responded differently then.
Should you have responded differently to
To
the peep? No, I think you have to play here.
Okay.
I think your result here is fine.
Yeah, no, I was pretty happy with this result, but I wasn't sure, like, if I know there are some variations where you can ignore that peep or like push through instead. Like
it gets really complicated.
Yeah.
It's pretty complicated. I wouldn't go into the details of it, but
yeah, no, I was just trying to figure out if I should have something different.
Yeah, so rarely is this going to be particularly bad for black.
Okay.
Though I would expect to see something like this a little bit more, and that at least makes these stones work a little bit better together.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised he didn't add a move there.
Stand here. So I think this next move is maybe not this one, but maybe the following one is maybe the first like mistake of the game.
Okay.
So I would probably play something like this.
Okay.
The idea being is that black has a strong position here and a strong position here. So I want to push these two stones into the strong position, right? That's kind of the idea behind it. When you play here, it's definitely worse than at least pushing through. Do you know why?
No.
So if I play here, white can play away, right? Let's say white plays something like this.
Yeah.
Now if I push through here, white can treat this stone as light and just extend up.
Mm.
The problem is if I play through here now, and white does the same thing, and I can now play here. I can put more pressure on this stone. Okay. The other part of that is, even if I were to just extend here, or excuse me, sorry, I kind of messed up the variation. Sorry. Play through here, play through here, play through here. I'm forcing white to make these extra exchanges now, because if I have white choose to make them later, it may not, right?
Okay.
So and the idea being is that if you play here, white doesn't need to answer. White can play elsewhere, and you've already spent an extra move at N3 potentially. Whereas if you played here and white chose to ignore, you wouldn't need to play at M3. You can play at L5 instead. So your stones are a little bit more effective.
That makes sense. But you would have attacked from the other side.
But I think I still would have attacked from the other side, because the idea being is that you're probably afraid of white playing here.
Yeah.
Where I think that you don't necessarily need to be that afraid, because I think that white needs to be afraid of you more along the lines, right? Like you have a strong position over here.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I felt like that was allowing white to get a little too strong, but yeah, that makes sense.
Probably better just to extend out here. I think because of all the cuts at Q3 and the cuts here, I'm not in love with this variation, right? Like there's still, you have to play something like this, then you have to play something like this. Like there's a lot of extra moves here, and white still gets that nice position on the 5th or 6th line, and has also taken away the corner.
Okay, interesting. I did read out that entire variation, and then I played it anyway. So need to think about it. Yeah.
in this particular situation, it looks like white Atari from the outside, which maybe is questionable, right? Yeah, I think if I were white, I would rather Atari here, get this exchange in for free.
Yeah, that's the one I was worried about and spent all the time reading, but like, yeah.
Because there's still quite a lot of Aji here, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
let's say
absolutely.
white plays away, like white could play here later on, you know?
Right.
Still a lot of Aji that exists here. Obviously, it might not work right now, but it's something that black's gonna have to keep in mind later on.
Right.
Definitely should Atari this way. I think there's just too much Aji here, especially later on when white eventually gets this. It's very easy for white to just cut through, right? And now these two stones are isolated. So this move over here becomes like a super sentai move. And whereas if you play this now, not that big a deal, right?
Yeah, I guess I didn't see all the way through that. I was thinking that the capture at Q2 and protecting would be Mii somehow. So,
but I mean, but again, if you have this move here or if you have this move here, this move at R2 is always going to be sentai on this group.
yes. Yeah, I guess that's true. I shouldn't allow something move where I don't have to.
Because black played at M3, I would treat these stones as really light, and probably just play maybe a move over here just to protect, or even something like this to protect the corner. It's going to be really tough for black to make a lot of territory here. So maybe if you want to force this exchange now for white, get the territory and then force black to connect. Maybe that's a way to play. But there's white can still always play moves like this, which might put some pressure on this group over here. I think focusing on this group right now is maybe a little questionable because it's really hard for black to get everything here, right? If black plays here, white will play here. If black plays here, white can very easily run out, right? And so the best that black can do is maybe do something like this, which is not that many points. So for me, in this situation, I would be more inclined to either directly attack and try to get a really nice result here and separate the group, which is certainly possible, or just play away entirely with something like this. This is a lot of Aji Keshi, especially making this exchange now. Like this is no longer Sente. So maybe a little questionable for white over here, but still not terrible. I mean, I think it's an okay result. This is an interesting move by black. I like it. White plays there. Yep, that makes sense. This is probably a little bit too slow. This next move at K3. If I were black here, I would probably play something like this, with the idea being that you protect the weakness, any sort of weakness that exists at this E6 stone. You're also attacking these stones here. And then the other part that it gets is there's a lot of Aji left over from this move. Or playing here. There's quite a lot of Aji because if white plays here.
Yeah, that's why I played it. So yeah.
So but having this extra move means that the cut's going to be much more severe.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it's also putting a lot of pressure on these 4, 5, or 6 stones.
Yeah, I guess I was overemphasizing that bottom territory.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not small, but I think that you're talking about this lower left territory or this bottom territory here?
The bottom territory that I was going after with the next move.
You play these moves a little bit more when it's closer to the end game. Like this is not an attacking move. This is serving one purpose, and that purpose is to get territory, right? Because this group we can unequivocally say is alive. This group is almost alive. So it's getting territory. It's not attacking anything. It's not really taking away points from white. And now white can, come out and play a larger move over here. And this group is still pretty flexible.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yep, all these moves are okay. No real concerns. I mean, white can certainly consider playing Consider playing this as well if you want to protect the corner and maybe a little bit more of an aggressive fashion, but I think that this protection down here is perfectly fine as well. Black plays here. Yeah. I like this, trying to take away the eye shape. I think it's okay. I would say maybe this move is a little questionable. You know, what are we afraid of here? Are we afraid of being cut? Are we afraid of these two stones being cut?
Yeah, I felt like I couldn't get out effectively if white got D or E12. I felt like I'd be too much on the run.
So this is one of those situations where the idea of stones is much more important than the actual stone. So I wouldn't be afraid of E12. And the reason for that is I'll just live with this stone. If white wants to push through here, I'll let white push through and capture this, or try to capture this one stone.
Yeah.
You know, if white wants to get real aggressive and try to play through here, white's going to realize it has some significant issues here where I get to break through the entire territory.
Yeah.
So again, this is one of those ideas. This is one of those times where you don't need to make every stone live. But you know, after plays this, is this stone hurting this 3 stone and this D10 stone a little bit, but not severely? I would be more afraid of something like this, but the problem is this doesn't work right now, right? Because black's gonna be able to come out pretty easily. So for that reason, I think it's probably fine just to leave the group and play a large move elsewhere.
Okay, so I left the group 1 move too late.
How are we doing on time? Just want to make sure. Oop. So it's okay.
Yeah, another 5 minutes or so.
And then Tanuki here might be a little questionable, right? Because if you Tanuki here, like it sits around this, now these stones don't really work. That look that great anymore. I would say this is probably a little small here because, you know, I guess the thought is what's your fear if you leave this area alone, right? That's the idea when you play this move is like, I think that white's going to get a large territory here. So like, you know, for example, instead of playing, you know, maybe black plays here. I don't know, you know, just some other move, right? The idea being that white's going to get a large territory here, but white's never going to get a large territory here because there's cutting points, there's spaces where you can invade. It's never going to be that much larger.
Okay.
And you're never, and black's never really going to get that much more territory over here because you have a stone on the 3rd line over here. You're trying to map out 5th line territory, but you're only getting up to 4th line over here. So you're not going to be able to actively use these stones very well together.
Okay.
And white's certainly not going to care about this one stone. It's going to probably do something like this, in which case white actually gets to solidify this area that it's been mapping out a little bit better. So, you know, if I were to do anything here, maybe something aggressive, right? Like maybe trying to live here.
Yeah, I think that's one that AI was recommending when I went through it.
Or even something like this. You know, it depends on how greedy you want to get.
Yeah, and actually, if we could jump ahead to when I did invade in there, I wasn't quite sure the best way to invade, and you did a move that I was that I hadn't. Yeah, okay, actually, it was the next thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think this is fine. I mean, this is a really powerful move. I think maybe white's move here is questionable because I would rush like I'm not feeling too hot as white over here, right?
Yeah.
You know, if white plays here, you can sacrifice the stone a little bit. Something like this, and you break apart white's territory. I mean, this is obviously not a great result. If white plays here, you know, again, you can play lightly. And it's going to be real hard for white to kill everything here. So maybe this move for white is a little questionable. So this is what happened in the game. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a really tough game for white right now because oh, very good move by white actually.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't see that one. I spent like 5 minutes reading that, and
you know, because the natural move just looks like it's going to be this, in which case you're going to get a ton of forcing moves.
Right.
And this is obviously a fantastic result, but this move by
Yeah,
white
but then
great.
also like extending out is worse too.
Extending out here?
No, like when I cut, if white goes to Q10, so if I cut on the other side like I did in the game,
Yep.
I spent a lot of time reading out when white plays Q10. But
Oh, here?
I played R11 instead. I was 1 liberty shorter, and it made it harder for me.
I would play at R15, force
Yeah,
you some
no, that
exchanges.
was. I had lots of ideas for that particular variation, but
It may not work, but there's some logic here, definitely.
yeah,
And you can at the very least force some bad exchanges. But either way, you make out okay because you're getting some outward influence. But
yeah.
so maybe black's move here is questionable, right? Maybe
Yeah, I
black
think
should,
something was wrong there in my approach, but I wasn't quite sure what.
maybe black should try to force an exchange over here. If white connects, play here, like boom, 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 boom.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe something like this,
Mhm.
where you can try to kill these stones at the upper top.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it works, but
yeah, it's pretty tight on liberties anyway. We cut it. It still took me so long to think about.
yeah, I'm not. It's hard to see that there's a better variation to this for white. Obviously, this is just a very nice move for black.
I misread something here in a minute, so there's that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure there was really anything at this point that you could have done, though. I think that after white extends down here, I think your white's going to be guaranteed something.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just a move I hadn't considered when I was trying to figure that out.
So making these exchanges now is probably pretty questionable. I think as soon as this group doesn't, as you know, it doesn't work, you should probably stop.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, but I think if you because these are all co-threats, so you just lost 8 or 9 co-threats.
Yeah.
And also if not playing here is again quite a few co-threats as well. So playing here is obviously not a small territory move, but
Yeah.
the loss of co-threats.
Yeah, my misread was that I thought that the clamp at S9 worked after white hunted there to gain enough liberties to win the capture race. But then when white connects there, I don't.
Yeah.
So that was my misread. So I played all those thinking that worked, and then it didn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, still a very good move by white at R10, though. I mean, that really,
absolutely.
it wasn't something that was like natural to me. So I think that was a great read.